Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 31 Media Podcast. Today's podcast is in collaboration with the Digital Transformation Awards and the AI Summit and Awards. These two are separate B2B events organized by 31 Media. And if you are interested in attending or exhibiting your tech solutions at the AI Summit, or to even advertise your brand at one of our award programs, please follow the link in the description to do so. Today, we have Tim Kravchunovsky on the 31 Media Podcast. He's the founder and CEO of Chirp. He has extensive experience as a telecommunications network engineer, and he shares his experience with us not just on the podcast today, but he has also written an excellent article for us on the DevOps Online platform. So if you just head over to the platform, you'll find an insightful article written by him on the integration of Internet of Things with blockchain and how it's impacting digital transformation within organizations. He has also highlighted what a blockchain powered era looks like. So don't forget to give that a read. It's very exciting. So welcome to the podcast, Tim. How are you today?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. It's my pleasure. So before we start, could you give a bit more information to our audience regarding your background, your experience as a telecommunications network engineer, and how you sort of like navigated into this realm?
Sure. My background is pretty boring. Graduated from university with computer science and
Hmm.
kind of worked in this field pretty much my entire life. And so we started Chirp about 3 years ago. It has a real life story behind it, how it all got started. So it's essentially just a couple of words about Chirp. We're building a decentralized network and a platform for Internet of Things. So
Hmm.
connecting different devices that need to talk to each other and to the internet, and we're connecting them also to the blockchain. This network is community owned and operated. Unlike the traditional telecom models where you buy the antenna, uh, uh, unlike the traditional telecom models where the company installs the antennas and runs the entire equipment, the decentralized model is actually slightly different. The users buy the antennas and they mount them on their properties. It's essentially you can think of it as leasing your roof and installing the infrastructure. So in turn for providing the signal, they get rewarded with Chirp token. So this is our model, but Chirp is a lot more than just in network. We're fixing a lot of problems in IoT, and we could probably get into that
Hmm.
a little bit in more detail.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Chirp. This entire project started when my parents' house it froze during the winter. There was a
Hmm.
electrical outage, and after it froze, we had to remodel the entire house because all of the pipes bursted inside. So we had to lift up the floors, rip out the walls. It was a very expensive project.
Yeah.
And when we were finished with the remodel, we kind of started thinking, like how can we prevent this from happening in the future? And we saw that there's really a lot of problems in this space. So we
Hmm.
started fixing them. So that's how Chirp was born. So
Sounds exciting. Yeah, it's so good to hear more about your journey and how it had started right from your childhood, like the idea of it. And like since you've been in the space for a long time, how do you think the IoT sector has changed since the early days? And what do you think has fueled this development?
the just the IoT industry.
Yes.
IoT is rapidly developing. Unlike most people think that IoT is not quite here yet, I would probably link it to this problem that we're not using IoT in our houses, and that's why people think that it's not not at this really developed stage, but it's really not true. IoT industry was a $200 billion industry last year. So
Right.
it's huge, but it's primarily being used by companies. And when people think of IoT, I encourage everyone to stop thinking of IoT as a smart refrigerator or a smart microwave or something useless that you will probably never use.
Mm,
Essentially, IoT is any type of device, but I would even say it's not a device; it's sensors that need to communicate with each other and that need to
mm,
communicate with the internet. And if you start thinking about the sensors, then you realize how big this industry is. Because if you take just Lime scooters, for example, so Lime scooters, huge global company, they have over 1 million scooters and over 1 million bikes throughout the world. Uh,
mm.
and if you think of a Lime scooter as an IoT device, you're actually wrong because it has multiple sensors inside, and that's what makes IoT. So a Lime scooter is actually 6 to 8 different IoT devices because it has
Right.
the accelerometer, it has the battery level sensor, it has the GPS sensor. So it even has a tilt sensor. Some of the companies, I'm not sure if Lime scooters, if they have it, but those tilt sensors are installed to prevent you. You have probably seen those scooters laying around everywhere instead of being properly parked. And those tilt sensors, they actually let the project determine whether the scooter is laying on the ground or is properly parked. So, and all of those sensors, they need to communicate with each other often, but
Mhm.
most often, most importantly, they need to relay that information with the internet. So, there's another IoT device in Lime scooters that is a SIM card, and that transmits all of the information from all of those sensors to the internet. So now we took a company with 1 million scooters, and if they have 6 to 8 different
Mm.
sensors inside each scooter, that's already 6 to 8 million devices just for one company. So you see how quickly this industry becomes very big, and it's typically the things that we don't think about. So.
Mm. Yeah, that is very insightful to hear more about the development of it and how, in your opinion, it's not really even started yet. But what do you think, like, the challenges are today in the IoT sector?
So challenges are huge. There's absolutely no rules and no standards. Uh, it all got started with Apple, and Apple introduced this fractioning of space when they started making the iPhones and when they
Hmm.
started creating those power cables that were specific only to the iPhone. So if you have been following the news, Apple got sued not too long ago, and they're now required to use the Type-C charging cable, and they're not allowed to use the proprietary cable anymore. But
Yeah.
so Apple is a huge company, and so they were forced to do it, but all of the smaller guys, they're not in a hurry to follow, and they really like this idea of locking in customers to use just their own products. And this is unfortunate because this is where our entire IoT industry is heading. Essentially, you buy a sensor that you need. Well, let's take something for your house. So, for example, you buy a door sensor because you want to see if somebody opens a door to your shed, for example, which is sitting somewhere on your yard.
Hmm.
And most likely that sensor will have a proprietary app that you will use. And then you need a video camera. So you go to Ring Video Camera, you install a Ring Video Camera, and you have another app for that. So you can clearly see how each manufacturer tries to lock you in to use their products only. And if you need to expand your IoT solution, you're really forced to jump from, like one vendor to another to the third and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, even a simple IoT case where you're just trying to automate a couple of things in your house, you're juggling multiple proprietary apps. And this is exactly what Chirp is trying to fix. So we're building this radio agnostic platform where you can connect a device from different manufacturers that uses different radio communications techniques. So, for example, I have a siren in here on my desk. This is a siren that uses Wi-Fi. It connects to your Wi-Fi. This
Yeah.
is a LoRa device from a different manufacturer that is long range and it can work outside. This is a tracker.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, those two devices were not able to communicate with each other. What we're doing at Chirp is now you can hang this tracker on your dog and you can draw a geofence. And for example, if your dog runs off and it crosses the geofence, you can set up a rule that will trigger this siren from a different manufacturer to go off to alert you, for example, that your dog has left the geofence. This is just
Yeah.
one use case, but it opens up a lot of possibilities because now those devices from different manufacturers that are using different radio communication protocols, now they can talk to each other and can talk to the internet. So.
Wow, that is definitely very helpful for our audience, and that's very cool what Chirp is doing. I'm curious, like, do you think blockchain, like, what kind of role does it play in this, and does it help, along with AI, of course, does it help to solve any of these challenges that you've currently mentioned?
So, blockchain is a big factor in our project because it's powering the entire project. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to provide different types of radio signals for different IoT devices, you can buy an antenna. And I have a bulky antenna in here because this one is actually going on a cell tower. It's not going to be mounted on my roof. That's why it
Yeah.
has this huge mounting.
Damn.
But
Damn.
the antenna is actually pretty small. It's a 30 by 30 antenna, and it has
Yeah.
a couple of physical antennas on top that actually distribute the signal. It's a fairly small antenna, 30 by 30, with two things sticking up on top. So you mount it on your roof, and it provides the signal. And so how do we reward people for doing all of this? So essentially, you buy the antenna, and we reward you with Chirp tokens. So we send you our Chirp tokens, and when our clients, when they use the network, essentially they pay like they would for any other service. So, for example, just like how you pay for your cell phone, in here you would pay to connect an IoT device to the network. But essentially, what you're doing is you're buying Chirp token on the back end when you're paying for that service. And that's how the entire model is fueled. So it powers the entire token and the token circulates. So, besides this, we're also, it's in the works right now. This option is not ready quite yet. But what we're doing is we're allowing to save the information from the devices on the blockchain. And this opens up a lot of new possibilities because we know that the information that is stored on the blockchain is trusted and it's immutable. So it opens up a lot of new use cases. So for example, let's take a use case with supply chain management.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pharmacy. You're ordering vaccines, and those vaccines, they need to be transported, and certain temperature requirements need to be met during the transportation. So, where is the guarantee that the shipping company did not alter those reports? So they had a power failure in their truck, and all of the vaccines, they were not transported properly. So essentially, you're getting a
Mm-hmm.
placebo, but you would never know about this. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of money on the stake. Where's the guarantee that the transportation company is not going to alter those reports? So in
Mm-hmm.
here, you install the IoT devices that are installed in those packages, and they transmit the information to the blockchain about the constant temperature readings. They write them on the blockchain. So this way, we can automate the entire process, and we can speed up the process as well. So once you get the package, the smart contract will analyze the data from the IoT devices, and if the temperature requirements were met during the transportation, it will automatically release the payment to the delivery company. So those are the types of things that are now possible. So first of all, it really reduces the overhead, and it speeds up the entire process. And it makes this information completely trusted and immutable. So, but
Yeah.
besides the logistics management, it could really be used in law enforcement. It could be used in insurance industries, just to name a few.
Mm.
So.
Wow, that sounds very exciting for with whatever Chirp is doing. Um, I have one more question for you, and obviously in the interest of time as well. The final question is more around digital transformation for companies, and how do you think like IoT will be important for the future of digital transformation?
So IoT, I've been saying this for a while. You know, like IoT is literally the biggest creation from the inception of the internet. This is how big IoT is. It will be
Mm,
essentially everywhere. We will have smart devices, whether commercial or residential, that will be making our life easier. It's not a question of if, but it's a question of when. And like Chirp is actually speeding up this process because we're simplifying the entire process of adding those devices, and we're making it simple, not just for the corporations, but also for the residential clients to use IoT. So on our dashboard, you can buy any supported device from the internet, and you go to our dashboard, and with a click of a button, you connect it to our platform. You can also set up different rules. So, for example, if your car enters a geofence, which is close to your house, well, then automatically open the garage door. So you will not even have to press a button to open the garage door. It
mm,
will know that you're getting there. So
yeah.
those are just some of the things. So residential use cases. There's also use cases galore. But the biggest industry is obviously commercial. So if you think about it, we are just starting with autonomous driving. So autonomous driving, there's a few companies testing their products and solutions here and there, but it has not even started yet.
Mm,
Just think about when those cars actually start hitting the roads, how many different IoT devices and different sensors will need to communicate with each other. Besides having the actual connectivity layer where they send the information to the internet, they will need to talk to each other. And Chirp is covering all of those use cases. So we're providing the tools that allow those devices to talk to each other, but also to the internet. And besides the autonomous driving, another big industry is smart cities. So smart cities, there's actually a lot of use cases, but I think one of the funniest use cases is in some countries, it's a very big problem. People are still stealing manhole lids
oh
and
my
covers,
God.
and they're stealing them because it's pure cast iron. It's heavy, and you can just sell it on the black market and
Yeah.
get money.
Oh my
So
God.
just imagine driving on the road and the manhole was open.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of cities they're implementing IoT sensors just to monitor the manholes. Just think about like how many manholes there are, and
Yeah.
and it's one of the use cases. I mean, like IoT, it gets absurd, like where you can use the IoT solutions. But like I think the example with manhole covers, it just blew my mind when I heard that people are stealing
I
them.
know. That is crazy. And definitely one of the funniest use cases. I
Exactly.
mean, imagine the kind of accidents that we'll have. But yeah, it's crazy that people steal that. But thank you so much, Tim. You shared like so much knowledge with our audience today. And your article also looks amazing. So thank you so much for collaborating with 31 Media and also for being on this podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.